Again, I'm Patsy, principal at Oakland Middle School. I'm going into my 15th year as principal at the school.
And I'm Elizabeth Fogarty, and I am the principal. I've been retired 2 weeks from Wet Ridge Middle School, where I finished. So I have 39 years in the county, but 15 years at Wet Ridge. And we're both lighthouse schools. You've been redesignated twice. We've been redesignated twice, and it's up for redesignation this year. And so the new principal, I gave her the stuff, and I said, here, do it.
As you move into a lighthouse school, and I know the vision Atlanta City Schools have because they came to visit us, and I think it's admirable. I think that it's possible. When I first decided that I wanted us to look at being a school to watch, I read the rubric. It was a little different at the time, but I read the rubric and I saw a couple of things on there that I thought if we went for it, we'd probably get a beacon. And there's nothing wrong with being a beacon school, but I didn't want to be a beacon school, I wanted to be a lighthouse school. So I took that year and worked with the leadership team to smooth out those two areas, and then we went to lighthouse school and got it that first year when we tried. And then redesignation 2 times is remarkable. It doesn't happen all over the country. And so as we give some of the background here, I'm going to give you a little bit of background since you want to be a lighthouse school. And I don't know how much of this you've had. First of all, how many principals do we have in the room? Counselors, teachers, central office staff, kind of that school improvement. Okay. But as we go into this, I want to tell you, this started back in 2000, the National Forum to Accelerate Middle School Reform. And that's the umbrella organization, and NMSA helps with this too, but the National Forum to Accelerate Middle School Reform got with some business leaders. They wanted to find middle schools in the country that actually did succeed. And so they found 4 at that time. Then they opened it up and said, why don't we let states apply? Well, Georgia was one of the first 3 that their application was accepted. And I'm sure that John Lounsbury and Linda Hopping had a great deal to do with that. John Lounsbury is like one of the fathers of middle school, and he's in middle Georgia. And I don't know how many of you know Dr. Lounsbury. If you ever have the opportunity to meet him, incredible middle school advocate, and just still full of love for what we do. And he's one of the co-directors of the Lighthouse School Watch program here in Georgia. There are 19 states presently that can name, because not all states get to, 19 states now that can name Lighthouse Schools to Watch. This is a very prestigious group. I'm going next week with a team from my school to the summit where all the schools to watch from across the country come. There are about 250 of them, maybe 260 at this point, I'm not sure. And we'll all be up there presenting and talking together. It is a network you will not believe what it has brought to our school and to us in Georgia. There are 15 Georgia Lighthouse schools to watch presently and 3 Beacon schools. Beacon schools just get a little support from us, but now we support other people too. But Beacon schools are almost there, they're just not quite there. The criteria that is on that self-rating, that rubric that we gave you, the criteria comes from the National Forum to Accelerate Middle Grades Reform. And the self-rating tool, as it tells you at the top, you'll be able to use to assess where you are as a school. We do it all the time with it and the National Middle School Toolkit. We use the toolkit also. It's an awesome instrument. The program goals are to establish and share a common set of program criteria, identify and publicize exemplary middle schools in Georgia. I know that the the superintendent of schools in the state, and that much of the department, they rely on schools to watch to help us look at how to make middle schools. Because when you start looking at AYP, if you look at that list, how many of you are middle schools? All of us? When you start looking at that list, it's kind of heavy with middle schools. It's beginning to get a little heavier with high schools, but it was really heavy with middle schools to start with. And so they keep wanting to find middle schools that can work. When you're a lighthouse school to watch, the best way I know to describe it is that you're the perfect place for an adolescent. You have created the perfect program for an adolescent because you meet every one of those criteria. You still have room to grow, but you've got a school where you have children learning, teachers learning, everybody's in that process. This is on your thing. I just wanted to show you that they have written that out. And then the common characteristics, and I want you to think, you reflect on your school at this point while you look at this. Do you have dynamic visionary leadership? Because I mean, these things are common characteristics among lighthouse schools, and this is Georgia's common characteristics. Dynamic visionary leadership, challenging curriculum for all students. Elizabeth, speak up if you've been to one, but I went to a site visit where a school had applied to be one. I went to one this past year. We go all the time because that's part of what we have to do as a school to watch. You send representatives and do it yourself. And I went to one, and I'm going to tell you what kept them from doing it was that there was not challenging curriculum for all students. That's what stopped them. They had some awesome curriculum for a certain group of students, but not for the rest of the students. And you've got to be making challenging curriculum for everyone. Active learning environment, data-driven decision-making resulting in increased academic achievement. And Elizabeth, I'm going to let you talk a minute right there, just briefly about the AYP issue.
Okay. The question always comes up about AYP. Does a lighthouse school have to make AYP? Yes, initially it should make AYP. So if you are in a school that hasn't made AYP, I would suggest take a year off, get your school to study the process, and then apply once your school makes AYP. There are schools that have become lighthouse schools, and then during the 3 years before the year designation, maybe one of the years they didn't make AYP, but they didn't take the lighthouse designation away from them because this is an entire process. The lighthouse program is a process. It doesn't mean that every school is doing everything correctly. It means it's just a great environment for middle level children.
Right.
But you want to, chances are, even though it's not written down, if you're not making AYP now, you won't become a lighthouse school to begin with.
All right, I did. I was on the needs improvement list, and we became a lighthouse school. But I'm going to tell you, John Lounsbury, who is one of the fathers of middle school,